So it's story time. Early on, organizations used to deploy applications on a physical server in a traditional way. So there will be one physical server. So that physical server we can consider as an hardware. On that hardware there will be an operating system, and on top of that there will be a different applications deployed to it. If there is a multiple applications deployed to this kind of situations, that might be a scenario like few of the resources will be utilized by application 1 and few of the resources are utilized by application 2. And there comes a scenario like when there is a load on any of the one application, most of the resources are being utilized by that application and the other application is underutilized, so it's not having the proper resources to work properly. So this type of situations were happening, and this is a drawback of this type of traditional deployment. So to overcome this situation, virtualizations was introduced. So what virtualizations allows us to do? It allows us to run multiple VMs, multiple virtual machines on a single physical server. So if you consider your physical server as a hardware, on top of that hardware there will be operating system, and that operating system will be having an hypervisor. On top of that hypervisor you can install or you can start multiple VMs, multiple virtual machines. All those virtual machines will be having its own operating system, and on top of that you can deploy your applications. So this allows us to utilize resources effectively. So suppose if we consider application 1 needs few of the resources, then with that few of the resources we can create a virtual machine and we can deploy application 1 on that particular virtual machine and we can run that. For application 2 we can create a different virtual machine and we can deploy that application to that another virtual machine. So this way utilization of resources is pretty handy. So this way it gives us better scalability and reduces the hardware cost also. Now as virtual machines have its own operating system, few of the resources are being utilized to run that operating system as well. So a proper efficient utilizations of the resources is not done for the application, as few of the resources are being handled to run that operating system and few are to run that application on that particular virtual machines also. As a solution to this, containerizations comes into picture. Containers are similar to virtual machines, but they share the same operating system, so they are considered lightweight. Similar to virtual machines, container has its own file system, its share of CPU, a memory and the processor space. So they are decoupled from the underlying infrastructure, so they can be managed and can be deployed on any of the hardware. It can be your local system, it can be your on-premise system, it can be on cloud as well. So maintaining them and deploying them is very easy. So containers are a very good way to bundle your applications. In your higher environments like production environments, you have to maintain your containers and to make sure that there is no downtime. Example, if there is any container that you have deployed in your production environment, then if that container goes down, then you have to spin up the new containers, so that we have to maintain that, right? Wouldn't it be easier if this behavior is handled by any of the system? That's how Kubernetes comes to the rescue. Kubernetes is a container orchestration tool developed by Google. It helps to manage containerized application. If you have hundreds and thousands of containers deployed in your production environment, then Kubernetes is the way to go. Mainly it provides high availability and high scalability. So there are few of the components, and the Kubernetes architecture is designed in such a way that we get the high availability and high scalability. So whenever there is an issue in your application or your containers, Kubernetes comes into picture and it will create a new container for you without bothering you. So high availability is a prime feature for Kubernetes. The other feature you can say is a high scalability. So if you want to upscale your application or downscale your application according to the request processing of your application, then it can be easily handled with the Kubernetes components. Now let's see basic Kubernetes architecture. Kubernetes architecture consists of two things, a master node and a worker nodes. Node is any of the servers that your applications or your Kubernetes will be created on. So a master node and a worker node combining everything will create a Kubernetes cluster. Your applications will be deployed in your worker nodes. All your worker nodes will be having a kubelet. What is kubelet? Kubelet is a node agent. So kubelet will be constantly in communication with the master. So if there is any change in your architecture, then kubelet is responsible to do those changes in your worker nodes, and all your worker nodes will be having your containers deployed to it. So you will be containerizing your applications, and those applications will be deployed to your worker nodes. All your containers will be wrapped around in a pod. Pod is a smallest unit of deployable components in Kubernetes. So this was all about the worker nodes. Like your worker nodes will be having your kubelet node agent and your applications deployed to it. What about master nodes? So master nodes will be having a few other components. Like the first most important would be the API server. So API server is responsible to pass on all the informations to the Kubernetes cluster. So whenever we have to interact with the Kubernetes, API server comes into picture. So how we can connect to API server? There are three options. Either we can use the UI, that is a Kubernetes dashboard, either we can use the APIs, or we can use the CLI tool. So from these three, we will be interacting to the Kubernetes API server, and API server will be responsible for passing the information accordingly. Now the next is a controller manager. So controller manager controls the different components for master and worker nodes. So controller manager is a processes, and it's internally divided into 4 different processes inside a single binary. So one is node controller, replication controller, endpoint controller, and service account and access token controller. So all these different processes handles the different tasks. So node controller is responsible for noticing and responding when the node goes down. Replication controller is responsible for maintaining the minimum number of ports that we have defined in the application, like this minimum number of application, this minimum number of replicas should be running. So replication controller maintains that inside our Kubernetes cluster. Endpoint controller defines our endpoint services, like how to connect services, how to connect pods, and all those different components. The service account and token controller is responsible for creating the API tokens for the new namespaces. The next component is a scheduler. So scheduler is responsible for ensuring the pod placements in the Kubernetes cluster. So suppose from the API server you created a request like deploy this application in your Kubernetes architecture or Kubernetes cluster. So scheduler is responsible to define where this particular application should be deployed. So it will be having a different scenarios to calculate where this particular application should be deployed in our cluster, which node it should go. So accordingly it will define, and the scheduler will pass that information to the worker nodes. The next component and the most important component is the etcd key value store. So etcd key value stores the entire information of the Kubernetes cluster. All of the things which is happening inside a Kubernetes cluster will be stored inside this etcd key value server. So at any particular time, what is the state of the entire Kubernetes cluster will be stored inside this etcd server. So it's very important to have a backup of it. So typically in the production environment, we'll be having at least 2 master nodes and a multiple worker nodes attached to it. So whenever anything happens to one of the master nodes, another master node will be running and it will handle the entire Kubernetes cluster. So how all these components work together? So all these components work together, master nodes and the worker nodes, using a virtual network. So all of these are connected using a Kubernetes internal virtual network. Now let's see what is pod. Pod is the smallest unit of deployable unit in Kubernetes. All the containers will be wrapped around in a pod. So generally one application will be wrapped around to one pod, and that pod will be deployed to any of the nodes in our Kubernetes cluster. So whenever a pod is created, it will be having a IP attached to it. So whenever there is an issue with the pod, that pod will be deleted and it will be removed from the Kubernetes cluster, and the new pod will be created for it. And whenever the new pod is created, a new IP address would be created for it. So maintaining all those IP addresses will be difficult. So suppose if you have microservice architecture and you are connected with the IP addresses, then it will be difficult to handle the complexity of the dynamic IPs created to connect your applications using the IP addresses. So the other components comes into picture, that is service. So service is the abstract way to expose the endpoints rather than using the IPs. So service and pod have the different life cycle. So whenever pod is destroyed, service remains intact and we can connect all the pods using this service. So service will be having a static IP address attached to it, which is a DNS, and it is a load balance also. So we can create multiple pods and attach to a service, and we can call the endpoints, exposed endpoints, using that service for the other applications. So this way we can use the service component to attach to a pod and we can create the network around it. So all of the steps what we did over here, that can be wrapped around to a deployment component as well. So deployment component is the abstraction above everything. So if you have multiple applications and you have multiple databases, so all of those informations can be wrapped around to a single deployment, and that deployment can be directly deployed to your Kubernetes cluster. In that particular deployment, you can also define how many replicas you want to create, how you want to upscale, how you want to downscale, and all those scalability information you can provide in your deployments, and Kubernetes will handle everything. All those information you will be providing using either JSON file or a YAML file. So you will be creating a JSON file or YAML file for a deployments or for any of the commands or any of the particular processes, and you will feed that information to your API server using the UI, using the CLI, or using the API. So this way you will provide all the information to the API server in the master node, and then it will be passed to a scheduler and a controller manager, and then all the information will be passed to particular nodes, and Kubelet will be responsible for creating all those components in that particular nodes. So that's all in this video regarding Kubernetes and Kubernetes architecture. So if you have liked this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for the upcoming videos. In the next video, we will deep dive into the different Kubernetes components. So stay tuned for that as well. Till then, happy coding. See you.